The fifth reason that AIDS is out of control in Black America may be the most surprising, even the most important. 2 weeks ago at the International AIDS Conference in Toronto, NAACP leader Julian Bond declared that there has been a failure to lead in the Black community. In fact, in 25 years, no prominent Black leader has made the AIDS epidemic here a top priority.
We got up and I serve a risen Savior.
Start with the church. Black Americans are deeply connected to their religious roots. Over 80% say religious faith is important in their daily life.
Historically, the African American church has been the cornerstone of political action, of social justice, and of spiritual empowerment. It is the center of life. Our churches continue to be the center of our community and how we think about certain issues.
Church, say amen. Say amen again. Amen.
But the church that took on civil rights has mostly been unwilling to take on AIDS.
Now I want you to listen.
Calvin Butts of the Abyssinian Baptist Church in New York has just recently started to talk about it in his church.
You need to be monogamous at least and stop all the promiscuity that is so characteristic of American heterosexual and homosexual behavior. You just can't sleep with everybody you think you want to sleep with and have sex with everybody you think you want to have sex with.
Has the Black church in general done enough on AIDS in Black America?
No, the Black church has not done enough on AIDS in Black America. And the reason I say that is because the crisis is worsening. So when you see the numbers going up, you know you're not doing enough. And the one voice that continues to be prominent and powerful in the African American community comes out of the church.
T.D. Jakes is a well-known and respected televangelist and preacher. He has an AIDS ministry at his home church in Texas. But last summer in Atlanta, in front of tens of thousands of people, he chose not to preach about AIDS.
Originally, there were no scriptures about AIDS in the Bible. The Apostle Paul didn't leave us any scriptures how he dealt with those issues. And so we don't see answers in the Bible. We're not getting that kind of training at universities, and pastors are kind of feeling their way.
If it's not them, it's their son.
Jakes is not alone in keeping AIDS out of the spotlight. Nearly every Black leader we spoke to told us the Black community must confront a whole constellation of challenges, and AIDS is just one of them.
I don't think that they're afraid to touch the subject. It's just that it is one of the many crises that we face. We don't have the luxury of honing in on one issue consistently.
They're still coming. Somebody ought to start praising God.
It's life and death. So excuses that we're busy. We would have dealt with this life and death crisis, but we were busy. Doesn't cut it. I see the Black church being challenged as never before to have some tough conversation, and they're going to happen. Those Black tough conversations are going to happen because the Black church doesn't have an option, because the Black church is the only thing Black people have left.
Eugene Rivers is also a pastor at a tiny church in one of Boston's poorest neighborhoods.
The politics of holiness. Righteousness exalts a nation.
He's already taken on social issues like gangs and drugs, and now he's turning his attention to AIDS.
In terms of how we live our lives.
You said silence is now suicide.
Silence is suicide. The conspiracy of silence on this sexual, moral, and cultural crisis is suicidal because Black young people are dying unnecessarily.
Rivers sees a fatal intersection between the silence of Black leaders on AIDS and a popular culture supported by Blacks and whites that's full of images of risky behavior.
We've got a culture that celebrates ignorance, you know, and promiscuity and consumerism and the bling-bling. We've got a cultural crisis. We have turned the celebration of misogyny, middle-range pornography, masquerading as hip-hop, into a mainstream industry. And this is something the black community did.
Back we go.
And black men and women passing around multiple partners, creating new sexually transmitted diseases and multiple sexually transmitted diseases, it's got to be talked about. And so I think that within the black community, we have met the problem, and the problem is us.
Back we go. Back we go.
And a black political leadership class bereft of vision, intellectual direction, and a clear moral compass now have failed their children.
Jesse Jackson is probably the most recognized African-American leader. He's spoken about AIDS and been publicly tested for HIV. But he's better known for his focus on other issues.
You, in the eyes of many Americans, assumed a mantle of leadership in black America, and this happened on your watch.
You know, when this epidemic first broke, I think most Americans misread it. At first it was thought to be white male gay disease. And that community with its resources and resourcefulness addressed it big time. Those with least resources were least effective. My God, when I think about its rise in Africa even today, I was with Nelson Mandela about 2 weeks ago. In South Africa, 5.2 million people have HIV or AIDS.
I'm asking about America, though, and I'm asking about leadership. There are now hundreds of thousands of black Americans with this disease, and there are activists who say, where were you? Why hasn't there been a mass mobilization of Push Rainbow, of NAACP, Urban League, around the Congressional Black Caucus around this crisis?
Well, the U.S. president,
You blame me?
the U.S. Congress, I'm not blaming anybody. My point is, those who have the most access to media and resources must address any American crisis. There are many people speaking against AIDS all the time, but have no platform.
But you do have that platform.
And the extent to which we do have it, we use it.
I wonder, though, you had a very public revelation about your own private life. Do you ever think that a kid in the audience, a teenager, might look up to you and hear you talk about behavior and think, well, yeah, Jesse fooled around. Well, why is he telling me I can't? He's a hypocrite.
I would suggest to them that we use our experiences to teach. Every football coach has fumbled the ball. Does not make him less of a coach. Sometimes it's your own experience that gives you the power to speak, and to speak truth to crisis, the truth to power, in ways that it matters. And when you do that, you become believable.